All right, welcome back to Extra AI podcast series, your podcast on AI and machine learning applications. And this is, as you know, we are doing video podcast in season 9, and today is the season 9 finale. And this marks our first season finale of the video podcast. And today we are honored to have Robert Maciejko join us to discuss a profoundly and very important topic: responsible AI as a force for good. Robert Maciejko is the co-founder of INSEAD AI. He brings the rich tapestry of experience and leadership to our discussion. INSEAD AI is an alum-led global community that unites thousands from the INSEAD network, including alums, students, professors, and staff around the transformative power of AI. Prior to this, Robert was a senior leader at three of the world's leading strategic consulting firms, which many of you will know: McKinsey, BCG, and Oliver Wyman. In these different roles, he led initiatives across dozens of countries and worked with some of the most prominent global clients on various transformative efforts. He has been a multi-entrepreneur in consulting, having helped start new offices, practices, and client relationships from scratch. Today, Robert is an advisor to corporations and an investor in various companies, ranging from startups to several pre-IPO firms. So, in this season 9 finale episode, we'll explore how AI can be harnessed responsibly to create positive impacts in the society and discuss the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead in ensuring AI acts as a force for good. So join us for this captivating finale to a groundbreaking season as we delve deep into the ethical implications and the transformative potential of AI with one of the leading voices in the field. Don't miss this insightful discussion on Extra AI. As always, we'll provide you more information at the end of the podcast. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. All right, welcome back to our Extra AI podcast series. And today I have the pleasure of talking with Mr. Robert Maciejko from INSEAD. He's the founder of INSEAD AI.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Raghu.
So let's start with our this question, Robert. So let's start with a big picture. So what do you like listeners to remember about the current state of AI? We know a lot is happening out there. We not only AI, now we have a lot of generative AI related stuff going on. So what is the big picture that you would like the listeners to remember when we talk about what is the current state of AI?
Thanks, Raghu. I would like to start big picture. Let's not get lost in the weeds. So here's 5 things I think you have to understand about today's AI. First, despite all the advancements, all the press releases, today's AI is pretty primitive. It has significant limitations. When we look back in a few years, we'll see this AI as quite primitive. Second thing, basically nobody uses it, right? Roughly 2% of the world's population is using generative AI daily, proactively, so it's very low penetration still. Third, 10 to 20% have even tried it. And the ones that have tried it have often tried less sophisticated versions. So ChatGPT 3.5, for example, free versions, and have no idea yet what the capabilities are. Fourth, and this is, I think the key takeaway for the listeners, fluency in AI, and by that I mean understanding capabilities, who are the key players, is as essential as learning English. You cannot work in business globally without understanding English, and having a fluency, as I call it in AI, is just as important. Fifth, and this is the exciting part, I suppose, also for listeners, we're at the beginning of an S-curve. We are in very early days. This offers significant potential and opportunity for the early experts.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, I think I completely echo with your thoughts and echo with your thoughts about all these 5 different points. So I would like to now pivot this and talk a bit about, ask a bit about the INSEAD AI, the INSEAD AI community that you have been uh, actively started. And like, can you tell a bit about how INSEAD AI came up to be and how anyone can benefit from it? Like, is it only the volunteers in INSEAD or is it the external world as well? Like, a few thoughts about.
Yeah, you're actually part of the beginning story because we met at the hub for the Americas conference. So we started the INSEAD AI community following Sam Altman's firing. Everybody was talking about what the heck's going on. We're also inspired by a talk a week before when you and I were together at the INSEAD Americas conference at the hub in San Francisco near OpenAI headquarters. Sam couldn't attend then. He was supposed to, but he sent instead his chief operating officer, Brad Lightcap, who I think you'd agree gave a quite enlightening presentation. So that was the scene where we started. So we launched a WhatsApp group. We thought a few people would join, maybe a few dozen. And within 30 hours, the group was full. We hit 1,024 members. Somebody was joining from around the world every minute. So there was huge interest. The group is inclusive, and I think it's unique in INSEAD history in that it's open to students, it's open to alumni, it's open to staff, it's open to professors, and all four groups are quite active, and I don't think we've had such a group before. It's possibly the largest and most active INSEAD group. We have thousands of people sharing resources, job opportunities. We had a pretty high senior job opening that came up recently. Tech tips, insights, people are collaborating. We've helped INSEAD in creating new case studies, so it's getting real. And our content is part of some of INSEAD's courses as well. In the group, we have exclusive spaces for INSEAD members. So there's some things that are private, but there's some things that are public as well. I would point out the INSEAD AI YouTube channel. Anybody can find it by looking in YouTube, INSEAD AI. And we also have podcasts on Spotify and Apple Podcasts that I usually lead. And besides that, I make a weekly update. It's open source, so anybody in the world can access it, of everything the community has shared in the past week. And it's a lot. Though I tried to summarize what I think the top 5 stories of the week are, and I make a video about that. That's available through YouTube. There's a link there, through my LinkedIn, or directly on my profile on Medium. So there's a lot of information that's open to the public that's been shared by these thousands of scouts of AI, in fact, the INSEADers. The initiative's designed to ensure that INSEAD as a whole and the whole community is at the cutting edge of AI, and that we lift all boats, that we make sure that we are steering the future of AI to the extent possible.
So that's a great introduction you gave, Robert, about INSEAD AI and what's happening there. But what about AI and what about the business leaders out there? Are they ready for all this innovation that's happening, and are they ready for what's happening in the world out there with AI and generative AI? What are your thoughts when you met with some of these business leaders in your conversations? Mm-hmm. Of course, like you mentioned in the SF Hub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I can speak to the INSEAD AI community. We see in the group, and from work that Professor Jason Davis has done, he did a survey of INSEAD alums, that the INSEAD community is really at the forefront of using AI. In his survey, Jason Davis showed 68% of people were already using ChatGPT-4 soon after it came out, so by far early adopters. Even at that time, when there were a lot of fears in the world about AI, nearly half of them were more excited than worried about AI's futures. But they're clear-eyed. They're not just cheerleaders. They're cautious about how AI might be misused and risks to privacy, issues such as that. What's also clear is younger INSEAD grads are particularly active in engaging with AI, and there's strong interest really around the globe, from the Americas, Australasia, Europe, Middle East, Africa, basically everywhere there are INSEAD alums. We have very active participants that are doing things. Europeans, who are a big part of the INSEAD community, are a bit more cautious, but it's close. They see some potential downsides. Overall, though, I'd say leadership from this group, from INSEADers, is crucial, especially as we aim to have AI as a force for good, so a motto of INSEAD. With our 60,000 quite prominent alums, we're in a strong position to shape how AI evolves and is used in industries worldwide.
Beautiful. So I think, like you rightfully mentioned, I think the younger community or the younger crowd is much more uh, easier or much more comfortable in using these technologies, whether it is AI or generative AI. But of course, there are reservations, as you rightfully mentioned. There will be reservations when you talk about AI and generative AI, because I think when we talk about geopolitical or regulation or a lot of other things which we will go into. But before getting there, I want to first start with maybe if you can share some thoughts about what are the issues you see when we talk about businesses and AI, and what are the most critical questions that you keep getting when we talk about.
So you might have seen the recent Deloitte research. It said that only 6% of US companies who are more leading on AI on average, only 6% of those companies give access to official generative AI apps to 80% or more of their staff. So it's a very early days. Half give access, basically official access, to almost none. On the other side of the spectrum, I don't know if you saw, but there was a recent Moderna case study. They managed to integrate AI across all levels of the operations, including basically 100% penetration. 750 custom GPT models were deployed in just a few months. They're working with OpenAI on that. And they had a rapid and pretty comprehensive adoption process. And there's some lessons we can draw from that for organizations to leverage and adopt AI effectively. So let me talk about some of those. One, leadership involvement. So leadership's direct involvement, driven by the CEO, as seen in the Moderna case, is crucial to get company-wide adoption. Number two, and you mentioned this, ethical AI use and having policies. So you do need to have clear ethical guidelines to govern AI use, and you have to make sure it aligns with your organizational values, but also more broadly, societal norms. Three, using AI in strategic decisions. So this is interesting in the Moderna case. It's not just some edge applications that are not mission critical. They're looking for AI to help them build new drugs and to foster an AI first culture so that they can do that and move quickly as efficiently as possible. Next, they have, if you look at the case study, and I do recommend it, I've written about it as well, they had comprehensive AI training. So that meant individualized AI training, partially using AI to make sure each employee had a learning companion to get on board, to have deep understanding. And they are very much pushing continuous learning, which is key. As you know, every day there's new stories coming out. A few other things. They created AI forums. They had regular meetings to have communication, idea sharing, and just to grow enthusiasm in the company. Also in the case study, you'd see they had incentive programs, contests to identify and empower AI-savvy employees. So they were looking for champions to make this all work. So I point out this case study because it's one of the best I know of a company really going all in and going to be AI focused and AI driven.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things I wanted to kind of get a bit deeper into this aspect, right? I think we talked about ethical case studies and ethical issues when we talk about AI. So this is where uh, ethical issues is one thing, and then data privacy issues is one other thing, and then regulations. These are the three big things I'm kind of looking about when we talk about AI, because these things change, or these things are different when we talk about the different continents or different countries around the globe? The things in North America or US are different, Europe is different, and China and other countries are different. So, what do you see the competencies here, and what are your thoughts about how things will go from here?
Yeah, this is fascinating, and we see this in the INSEAD group, especially because we do represent different geographies. There is an AI race going on right now. It's U.S. and China. Europe is part of it as well, and it's a chess game of innovation and regulation, and everybody's playing to their strengths. Let me go through a little bit what the current situation is. U.S. leads in innovation, the best AI models, the best AI chips. But of the three, it has a lighter regulatory approach. We basically have no comprehensive AI regulation at all in the United States, which raises concerns for various people about privacy, ethical governance, potentially safety as well. China's different. It combines very strong government backing and, in theory, strict control, though you can argue that, in fact, they don't implement some of that. They aim for global AI dominance. But that also raises some concerns, given that everything has to be according to party norms. And there's some other issues I'll get into in a second. Europe focuses on rigorous regulations. You know, we had the EU AI Act to make sure AI is ethically aligned. They seem ready to sacrifice speed for public trust and sustainable development. And we can argue, many have, whether that's the right approach or not for Europe. So linked to all this are some other technical issues. Chips are sort of the core of the story. So cutting edge chips are key to AI strength, and the US holds an edge clearly there with NVIDIA and in general in chip tech. However, the US has export controls on China for the most advanced chips. So the most advanced NVIDIA chips are not allowed to be sold to China. This creates a lot of tensions, but also shows that China's vulnerable in this area. And it's a main reason China's pushing towards self-sustainability in chips. Ironically, the Western world relies on the actual production of these chips on Taiwan, which China considers its territory. So this doesn't feel like a long-term stable situation. We do have to find solutions here, I believe. Finally, open source AI models play a big role in this whole discussion. Meta leaked its first model was leaked, not officially by them, and its next models were put out by them, open source. But that also meant that China and anybody in the world had access to the latest AI tech. And China is fully leveraging open source to bridge its tech gap. So that's an important part of it. So each region is playing to its strengths. US is moving ahead, very innovative, thanks to its tech giants and startups as well. But regulations are light. We have to watch that space, what's actually going to happen. We have an election year. Possibly not so much given that, but we'll have to watch that closely. China is ambitious and wants to be, in fact, the leader in AI, but it's heavily reliant so far on foreign tech. That may change as their own tech develops. Europe is focused on ethical development, but we'll see what that does to their innovation as well. So it's an interesting, very interesting chess game.
Yeah, I think it looks very interesting. And of course, this AI competition or the race for the dominance is going to be interesting for the years to come. Like you rightfully mentioned, while US does all the innovation or leads with innovation, China has a lot of potential there. There is China with all the adaptation and the controlled adaptation. And then, of course, when we talk about data privacy laws and regulation and other things, of course, Europe will play a big role there. So it will be interesting to see how this will play out. But I believe you recently have done an interview, I believe, with one of the red team members for Chat GPT-4. Do you see any broader questions as regards the AI safety. Maybe do you want to talk a few words about that?
Yeah, I learned a lot from talking with the red teamer, Nate Lebenz, in this case. Very, very, very interesting fellow. In any case, he has a podcast called Cognitive Revolution, which I'd also recommend. He's an AI scout who's always looking at the latest things going on in AI. And his insight into working with the ChatGPT-4 model long before it was public is very eye-opening. First thing that he said, and he said, in fact, 3 times in our discussion, AI does not automatically align with safety. It has to be a deliberate design, and you have to have continuous oversight to ensure it operates as intended. Second, there are risks of powerful AI. We have relatively, as I said, primitive AI right now. But as AI becomes more autonomous, or as it becomes an agent that actually takes actions on your behalf, the risks can grow substantially. Third thing we discussed is that AI development is surpassing by far the pace of creating effective safety measures. So we might prematurely deploy before we really know what we're deploying and having all the tools to manage. Next, there's a big gap between AI developers and what they know and understand, and oversight bodies, to the extent there are any, and their understanding. They often lack basic understanding of how AI works, making it really hard for them to oversee its adoption. So we need broad engagement. So AI governance should extend beyond the internal teams, the individual companies. There should be third-party audits, Nate argued, and also whistleblower protections from inside companies if they see things that could be harmful. That's been an issue, in fact, in AI. And ethical guidelines must be early. So he had access to a very raw, powerful model, still pretty much the most powerful model out there. And he got it to suggest very extreme actions, regarding violence and things like this, without ethical filters. So it very much highlighted for me the importance of having robust safety and ethical guidelines from the start.
Right. I think some of the important points, or some of the very key points you have raised, uh, I believe, are based on AI doesn't understand the ethical outcomes or the safety outcomes, because you will have to define what is the outcome. You will have to provide, okay, I need this kind of an outcome. So, but for that outcome, AI wouldn't know how you have to get there. So that is where all these guidelines and ethical practices have to be built. I think that's a beautiful thing that you have mentioned. Uh, but for individuals, when we talk about, I know there are a lot of guidelines out there. There will be obviously, when you are building, uh, there will be developers building without the big firms and the big governments. I think maybe they go in a stage where they will have all these controlled guidelines and controlled development, but there are smaller players, because they have to come into the being, and so they have to kind of, for the sake of gaining the market share, they might build some of these solutions which may not have that trustworthiness or safetyness. So there are things that you have to take care. But from the individual standpoint, what are the challenges that you see uh, to, like, how you can overcome? What are the key challenges that you see when you want to learn about AI, or how do you want to adapt AI or save AI, and how do you overcome them? Any thoughts that you would like to make?
So I'd like to reflect here, Raghu, on jobs. So how people stay employable in the AI age. I had a fascinating discussion with the INSEAD alum, Ashley Recanati. That interview is available online. He's written a book, which was one of the first books on this topic. And a few points from that discussion and things I've observed. One, and I've mentioned this before, basic knowledge of AI's capabilities and limitations is essential. So for everybody. So if you are looking to have a job, you have to understand what's going on in AI. Second, I would embrace AI tools to raise your productivity now. You're not waiting for the next generation. Hopefully your company allows you to use certain tools. The thing is about jobs might not totally change, but tasks will. And the definition of a job and what tasks are included in that job will change, because AI is going to do some of the tasks, or will significantly accelerate how they're done. So workers will have to be flexible and continue to learn. Some things, mainly routine things, will be automated. But that also creates new opportunities for you to focus on complex and creative fields. What you have to do to stay relevant is to focus on developing cognitive skills, things where you have to think creatively, things that AI can't easily replicate, things that revolve around human interactions are more defensible, or if they're cultural nuances, they're less vulnerable to AI disruption. One thing to keep in mind, AI could widen the gap between the high and low skill jobs. So there used to be more of a pyramid, but the middle might be hollowed out a bit, as some of those jobs can be automated away. So you have to escape to the higher end, where more cognitive, more human skills are needed, where things are a bit more complex, a bit less routine. And if your company is not thinking about these things and is not allowing official AI access, you have to also look if you're in the right company. Make sure you're in a company that's ready and will survive in the coming future.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, any key steps the individuals have to take to kind of address some of these challenges that you have mentioned, right? Like attain. You did mention a few things that you'll have to do, but I think any steps that individuals would have to take to kind of reach where they are. Your thoughts on that?
Exactly. So I'd like to go through a few things that beginners could be interested in, but also experts. So maybe some of the experts are not doing all of these things. If you're a beginner, you can start with some fundamental courses like AI for Everyone on Coursera. There are a bunch of AI videos on YouTube to grasp basic concepts. We have a section called AI 101 on the INSEAD AI YouTube channel. So I would recommend watching some of those if you haven't seen those videos. There are some really good basic videos to understand how AI works and some of the key aspects. We also have a section there called AI Essential Vids, or Essential Videos, which are usually the leaders in AI. And so you hear straight from the source, what's the latest. We update every week, so you can get a lot of excellent content there, hours of content basically every week. We also put there news and other things generated by INSEADers. Second, if you're not subscribed to a newsletter, you should be. There's like Rundown AI. There's many newsletters. You have to find the one that's right for you. It depends what you want to do with AI. It might be more technical, might be more practical, might be more business oriented. There are newsletters that serve each. Similarly, on podcasts, I listen to many podcasts, many podcasts. I try to listen to get as many different points of view as possible, the technical, the business, the practical. And there are tons of options on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Your podcast, obviously, is a key one. Over time, I've learned how to listen at double or sometimes even triple time. Once you understand the concepts, the jargon, and the way of speaking of your favorite podcaster, you can listen more quickly and absorb the same amount. So I find that as a hack to get through so much material quickly. You can join communities. All INSEADers should definitely be part of the INSEAD AI community. I would recommend AI books like Ethan Mollick's Co-Intelligence. So I've been telling everybody that asks, before you ask me about AI, please read the book. You can listen to it in 4.5 hours, so it's not a big challenge. If you speed it up, you can do it even quicker. And there you get a pretty broad perspective about AI, some practicalities, but also ethical considerations and what AI might become and what that might mean for all of us, for humanity. It's an excellent book. One of our professors, Henning Pizunga, also interviewed Ethan. That interview is available on the INSEAD AI YouTube channel. That's a good place to start as well. It's an excellent interview, very good interview. There are other courses you can take, paid or free. I won't go into all the options there. But if you haven't done hands-on things like work with paid models like ChatGPT-4 or the latest Gemini, you absolutely have to do that, at least for, let's say, 10 hours, as they say, the 10-hour rule, to get a general understanding. You should use some image generators as well. If you had ChatGPT-4, you have DALL-E there. I like Midjourney at the moment the best. Adobe Firefly is also a model if you use Photoshop, where you can play and see what can be done. I do recommend that everybody make some music with Suno or Udio. It's pretty amazing. You put in a text prompt and you get out a song. Just to have an understanding of how this all works and start to get an idea where this all might lead. More advanced personal projects. A bunch of our INSEAD alum have made GPTs or gotten into more advanced topics using Python and such. If that's your interest, that's certainly something you can do. And some of our alums have been sharing their learning journey. So they've been talking about what the best courses they found were, but also in general, their reflections. And that's a way to consolidate what you're learning. So those are some very practical ideas that I would recommend considering.
Before we go to the key highlights or key takeaways, are there any questions that you would like to post for me?
Maybe yeah, so finally get to ask you it, turn the tables. So you have a lot of experience, and I want to talk about use cases. What are some successful use cases you've seen implemented or are about to implement in AI or Gen AI? Any measurable outcomes?
Yeah, that's a great question that you have put, Robert. So coming from the enterprise standpoint, this is what I keep talking when I talk about the enterprise AI use cases. The complexity kind of doubles when we talk about consumer AI compared to enterprise AI, because here we also have to focus on not only just the customers, but also our customers' customers. So this is where the complexity doubles. So we do have, I will talk in the aspects of business applications or business processes, whether it is a procure to pay application, or I'll take a simple example of a sales order being created, and how do you realize that sales order, and how do you see the benefits? So you start with a sales quotation. There are a lot of quotations which come via emails or maybe phone, text messages or other things. How do you automatically scan them and upload into the system and then create a sales order out of it? And when you're creating a sales order, there is a lot of information that you have to get in. So this is where, while scanning the sales order, while scanning the sales quotation and creating a sales order, we do a lot of machine learning and AI. Now, we also started using generative AI technologies. When you are creating a sales order, there is a lot of other textual information or description that has to go into the sales order item. So this is where key elements you can extract, but there is a lot of other textual information that you could definitely add. And so this is where we see some of the generative AI examples and how we can increase the productivity of the internal sales representative or the sales representative, so that he can create a sales order faster and realize and then follow the sales order and how the outcome is achieved. And then I can go on and on. There are a few other use cases when I talk about procurement to pay. You have a procurement specialist. You're ordering a lot of items at your shop. You know, some of these things are not generated or not delivered on time. So you will know ahead of time that there is some delivery delay on one particular route because this particular plant is not functioning well. So can I automatically schedule so that it can come from a different location? So there are some of these use cases we have been working. Of course, we keep hearing to our customers a lot. build and then enhance these use cases. So this is how we measure our outcome based out of how you can increase the productivity of your users and reduce the costs.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, it sounds fascinating, and I can understand the complexity of having your customers have customers, and making sure that the whole process is positive for all of them. Given that you talked about procurement and what functions are seeing the most implementation in generative AI? We hear about customer support, call centers, sales, marketing, software development. Are there any non-obvious ones? What functions are you seeing as the main ones?
Yeah.
And interesting ones as well?
Yeah. So one important function, which is non-obvious, which is where we are seeing a lot more generative AI capabilities being adapted. Like, for example, the HR functions. So when you are onboarding a new employee, what kind of information or what kind of trainings that you will have to get this new employee when he's in, or even before onboarding the employee, even hiring the employee, the process of hiring itself, there is a lot of generative AI happening with the recommendations, the skills matching that you are doing. Because now you get hundreds of resumes, and then you will have to pick up some of these keywords and understand. Of course, there is always a human in the loop, but how can you help the human maybe process this information faster and then get to the next step? So I would say the process of hire to retire is one very important process where at each stage uh, there is a lot more. So I would say the HR function is one thing which will be using this quite a lot. And there are a lot of other functions. I would not want to go into those details. I know. So we are coming to the end of the conversation. Do you want to provide any key takeaways or highlights for our audience?
Yeah, sure. No, thanks, Raghu. Thank you so much for having me. What I'd like to leave is this. Remember, just like learning a new language, starting in AI might seem daunting at first. In fact, it might seem daunting when you're deep into it because there's so much coming and so many new things to learn. But with persistence, access to the right resources, you can, and in fact, you must navigate it effectively. What you should remember is there are no true masters. There are no total experts, even people claim to be. In fact, do not understand the totality of AI and its impact on our society. And everyone starts somewhere, so dive in without fear. And I'd like to reinforce 3 resources I think everyone, whether you're a novice or an expert, should tap into. One, Ethan Malick's book, Co-Intelligence. I don't get any money from that. I just think it's the best place to start. Number 2, if I chose a podcast besides yours, I would talk about the AI Breakdown with Daniel Whitmore. Does a great job every day summarizing some of the latest news. And I would subscribe and follow the INSEAD AI YouTube channel. I do a weekly news update where I talk about the top 5 stories, and there's a link to everything that's shared from the INSEAD community there. And as I mentioned, there are top AI videos, 101 resources, and the latest from thought leaders. So it's a good resource. You could also, if you want, subscribe on my medium.com to get that directly into your inbox. It's all open source. It's all for free. So those are some things I'd leave the audience with. Dive in and keep going.
Beautiful. I really, I think some of these resources that you mentioned, I'm already following. I think that's a great way of keeping you updated on what is happening. Because like you've mentioned, I think things are changing at a very fast pace, and we need to kind of not only understand what is going on, but you also have to digest the information, and then how do you implement it. So beautiful. I think thanks for all that great insights, Robert, as always. We'll love to get you back some other time again.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for doing this podcast. I mean, and sharing your insights with the world and bringing guests to the world. Really appreciate that.
Thank you. So, as we draw curtains on an incredible season 9 of Extra AI, we first would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to Robert Maciejko for joining us in this powerful season 9 finale. Robert's profound insights into responsible AI and its potential as a force for good have not only enlightened us, but have also inspired thoughtful discussions about the future of technology and its role in the society. And of course, a tremendous thank you to you all, our dedicated audience of Extra AI, for being part of this wonderful journey to our first video podcast season. Your engagement and curiosity have made the season a very memorable one, filled with enlightening conversations and groundbreaking insights. As always, I'll be tagging Mr. Robert on this LinkedIn post. And if you have any further questions or if you want to engage with him, you can directly reach out to him. Alternatively, you can also reach out to me, Raghu Banda, on my LinkedIn profile, and I can put you in touch with him. You can also reach out to me on my other social media handles like Twitter or X Arkebanda or Threads Arkebanda. And of course, you can always go to our website, extraai.com, www.xtrawai.com. And then you will find there humongous amount of other episodes and other conversations, and maybe a lot of other blogs and podcasts and other things. So as we look ahead, we are excited to announce that season 10 is just around the corner, promising even more intriguing episodes and discussions on the latest developments in AI. So stay glued to our Extra AI for another season packed with expert insights and explorations into the ever evolving world of AI. If you have any suggestions or uh, uh, new conversations you want us to bring in, let us know through the feedback. And one final thing to say, if you haven't subscribed to the Extra AI podcast yet, now is the perfect time to do so. Subscribing will ensure that you wouldn't miss out on any of our upcoming episodes. We most of the time we release the episodes every weekend, every Friday, barring the end of the month. So you see mostly we will be releasing 3 podcasts in a month, and the fourth podcast is more like a recap of the fourth weekend. Thank you once again for tuning in, and we look forward to welcoming you back to season 10 of Extra AI, where we continue to explore the fascinating interface of AI with our world. Until then, have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are tuning in. Happy predicting the future with AI technologies. This is your host, Raghu Banda, signing off. Thank you and bye bye.